a lot of this gets into why do we have these, rules? So why do we have a 15-foot setback in the corner side yard? What are we trying to accomplish there? Is it preserving space for, we got a especially narrow road that needs to be expanded in the future at some point? Traffic safety, whatever it might be.
Well, 15 feet gives you a little more. You have to widen the street.
Are there any homes you know of that are only 10 feet off from the road? I know there's some that are pretty close.
Well, I'm sure there's some that have been there for a long, long time that are
The
closer,
old
yeah.
section of town,
Yeah.
some of these houses are
A
just
couple
a few
houses
feet
I can
off.
think of, they're really close to the road, but I can't tell 10 feet from 15 feet when driving by.
They're touching the sidewalk or 10 feet.
And then we've got, sort of these anomalies, like, or not anomalies, but, we allow a fence on the corner side lot line to be 2 feet from the property line. So if we're trying to prevent cars crashing into structures or something, there could be a fence there potentially that we allow. So does that mean that we should allow smaller buildings, like in letter F, to be closer like that? Does it mean we should allow these steps or stoops or whatever to be closer to? What are we trying to preserve in that 15-foot area that justifies that?
I think if you move it in to 10 feet, you're starting to bring back what the old town used to look like, where everything's pushed right up to the boundary lines and small lots, and we tried to get away from some of that. I have no problem with keeping it at 15 feet. You're right, if somebody runs off the road, that extra 5 feet is going to help. If you're 10 feet off the line, it'll get a bit easier.
Gonna help a lot.
Well,
You gotta go through
it's
8
not gonna,
basswood trees this size to get
well,
past,
there's no
get to the
basswood,
sidewalk.
there's no basswood trees there.
I mean, what are we? Most of our streets in town are at standard size now. We don't have any narrow ones left, I wouldn't think. I can't think of any there.
There are a few. Go down the street once, toward the trailer park. The road's this wide, all of a sudden it takes that shot in. Someday they're gonna have to address that, but then you're gonna have houses right next to the road there.
On the west side once in a while, we got carriage trails yet too.
I was across over there when I'm going to Sobieski.
Heck, you go,
It's amazing how little you drive around town.
our representative Krisha has a dirt road right next to his house. That should be addressed someday.
That's a whole other subject.
There are a bunch of dirt streets out there now.
Oh, yes.
There's
Or
some
we
that
have-
don't.
We have some that are tar and dirt and tar. Don't understand why.
Reluctance to,
People don't want to pay the assessments.
reluctant to put assessments up.
Well, there's one that city property on one side and the other side is, I don't know what it is. It's kind of a swamp. So who would you, I suppose the owner of the swamp would have to pay the assessments. Okay, what else? I don't see too much we haven't discussed.
Was there a consensus on that 10-foot versus 15-foot? Or we just, we'll come back to it later or something?
Now, let's get a consensus on it, or else we're coming back on everything. What do you guys feel?
It's page 21's letter C, is that what?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess a lot depends on what the terrace is too. What are those things?
Well, to me, by the wording here, it has to be at the floor level, main floor level or lower. So it's something that's lower. It's not a tall structure.
Nothing that's covered.
So if you have a deck coming off the second story building, on the building,
That doesn't qualify.
it'll qualify.
Ground level.
Ground level,
Lower level.
okay, lower level.
Jim's comment about nothing covered, we should talk about that, because if we have like a covered stoop, are we gonna include that in this or not?
It's gonna cover the stoop and all.
Well, depending on it, you can come out 5 feet from your house, 10 feet from your house, if you want to do it.
Gable or something.
Then basically you're looking at, if you consider that a terrace then? I don't know.
I believe a stoop is something that has a frost footing, so it goes down 48 inches, with block or whatever, and then you've got either a sidewalk or an entranceway on top of it.
But a lot of them do have the concrete steps or whatever out in front of the house, and they got the
Stoop, yeah.
4 foot. That's what I consider a stoop, I guess, but.
Some ordinances will consider anything with like a 32 square foot landing and a 4 foot wide stairway to be something that's allowed to be closer to the setback than the house for the structure. So you can do it like that too, where you say, you realize people are coming out of their house or something, and you allow for that to be closer. We're mostly concerned about the structure itself. So you could say something like that, or you could say something like anything that's not attached to the house, that's at that main floor level or lower. So if you have like a freestanding deck or a patio, something that's not attached to the house and is more easily removed or changed. Maybe that is a way you can look at it.
Can a floating deck have a roof on it?
Well, yeah, then this is my
Well,
experience in another community.
I have a floating deck, you know, and I can't imagine how you put a roof on it. It would be without all the footings, I don't know.
Yeah, not attached to the house, but I've seen like pergolas.
Yeah, well, pergolas,
I'm dealing,
That's not
for
a
some reason, I'm
solid
dealing with
structure.
pergolas a lot in one of my
Yeah.
other communities.
I came in and one day and asked about a pergola, and we weren't well familiar with the term.
Yeah. So that's that freestanding where it's kind of got the vertical.
Let's talk about what we know here. I don't know what a pergola is.
Pergolas, it says, generally they'll set boards up vertically and just provide a little bit of shade, just some boards across
Okay.
and vines and lights.
Well, anyhow, we need some work on this one here.
And I can come back with more language changes. if you
Yeah,
want.
But
that
do we
would
want
be
the 10
better.
or 12, 15 foot, is that what we gotta decide here? Is that what we wanna do?
Yeah, I just threw the 10 foot in there because I felt like it was worth some discussion.
You're a troublemaker.
I'm a troublemaker.
Yeah.
That's what you pay me for, right?
We're doing a lot of talking
Fence?
about the issue here.
The fence is 10 feet?
2 feet. That
Oh,
gives you
what do we
8
have
feet.
for the fence? From the street?
2 feet.
2 feet?
2 feet from the property line.
From the property line, yeah.
If it's
But we're talking here about the street or avenue setback.
It's the property line. It's
Property
either way,
line.
it's from the property line.
And so, is that the same setback that we have for fences?
The fences, if they're maintenance free, can be right up on the line.
They're right on the line.
If they have to maintain their wood fence or something,
So
it's 2 feet.
we're talking about whether we can bring a stoop out to 10 feet from the property line,
Correct.
if we know what a stoop is.
And the pergola.
We define a stoop and pergola and all those things. We're not going to define everything.
Platform or porch, where you sit out and talk to your neighbors as they walk by. That's a definition.
And the stoop.
So to me, a porch is,
Let's see if it's too far to the deck then.
to me, a porch is covered.
Covered in the floor, it doesn't have separation between the planking or decking. I could live at 10 feet. Actually, you think about it, what's the difference, 10, 15 feet? From the property line,
Yeah, not from the street.
Yeah. okay? Is that what we're gonna recommend here, have been rated up like that, 10 feet?
It's working out kind of way.
Okay, go with what Ben has.
Then add some definitions for all that stuff.
And the definitions, so we know what we're talking about here. Put pergola in there.
Yeah, do we want to just strike some of that? That's all it is, or do we want?
I think that's what Jeremy mentioned earlier, if there's something that seems repetitive, like, it's almost the same description, why have it in there twice? Go with the most common terminology and we'll work with that. Okay, what else we have? We have about, generally, we like to work until about 8 o'clock max, so we have just a few minutes here. 14.
I think the last major thing that I can think of here, of these changes, is the conditional use criteria.
You guys are pushing for overtime today, huh?
Well, just so we don't have to come back and go over it again and forget all of it.
Yeah, there isn't that much more to discuss that is changed here that we haven't discussed previously, so.
No, there's not. You're correct.
Letter F, did we discuss that? We discussed it briefly last month, I think.
The annexed territory portion? Letter F, the letter F.
But letter F on page 21.
Oh, next.
We talked about it last time.
Yeah. Yeah, the larger than 48 should be no closer than 5, and smaller than 48 would be 2.
Yeah, we
Say
agreed to that,
fence.
didn't
I
we?
thought
Yeah, we agreed to that because we figured 2 feet at least you can work on it, maintain it.
So this would be at the corner lots too. Or right now it's a 15-foot setback from that corner side lot line. This will go down to 2 now.
Just for them buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the argument was to keep that consistent with the fence.
That's right.
So if you have a fence and no garage, what's the difference between that and not having a fence over the garage? Or a shed, I guess that would be.
Next part is about controlled intersections. We have discussed that, safety driving. Red, turn blue. I have a question, impervious, how does a deck relate to that? Because water can get in underneath and soak into the ground and that, so that's not considered?
No,
It's pervious, okay.
that's impervious. I mean, it would be, because nothing's gonna grow underneath there, so eventually that ground is gonna get hard and you're not gonna get much.
So it's considered impervious.
That's a debate I hear all the time, especially in shoreline areas, up around lakes, and the DNR gets involved in that point.
If that deck's up 8 feet, there's enough sun gets underneath it. I've seen a lot of higher decks that,
Depends on how close the boards are spaced.
well, I mean, just the angle, I suppose where it's at, if it's at the
Well,
east side of the house, it doesn't matter.
As a general rule of thumb, it's considered impervious.
Okay.
I've worked on projects, again, with the DNR, where if you space them far enough, because you're going through wetlands, it's a boardwalk, you space it far enough so sunlight can get down there so that it can actually, the vegetation can grow. Generally speaking, it's considered impervious though. Because most people take a quarter or, quarter inch and put it in between the boards and that's what you space it with. Or
So if you have a swing set, some of these people build these little places for kids to crawl up. You have some decking boards and a couple stories and a little tarp or something over the top, that's considered impervious?
Sure.
Okay.
It's gonna give you a reason not to put the swing set in there, right?
Your kids don't need one.
No, we don't, we got a parking lot down.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, we discussed that before.
Balance of the pages are really just kind of cleanup measures, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got a question on 26, number 3. What about, it says temporary, what do we consider a temporary fence?
Some fences, I guess.
Snow fence,
Garden fences?
Construction, fence,
My biggest question is a garden fence.
Like, what, chicken
Like,
wire?
yeah, like chicken wire for a garden fence. They're coming to get a permit to put that in the garden for the year,
Well, if it's
over 30 inches?
over 30 inches, then we'd have to talk about whether we, at this point, I'd say we would have to require. I guess to me, temporary would certainly be construction fences and snow fences.
Right.
Once you get beyond that, it's sort of like, well, who says it's temporary?
Wouldn't garden fence be the exact opposite of snow fence? You put snow fence up in the winter and take it down, it's gonna be up half the year. This is Minnesota.
Yeah, if you take them down, but some garden fences you wouldn't take down, maybe.
Right. Here what they're talking about, if you finish out the sentence, it says, except that temporary fencing not exceeding 6 feet in height may be installed to secure the perimeter of a construction site. So we're allowing
Construction site.
temporary fences for construction, securing construction, but anything other than that would require a permit.
And then actually later, at the next page, 27, bottom of that first paragraph, these are approved fencing materials, and it talks about snow fencing at certain times.
Well, that's not
It
chicken
doesn't
wire
really,
unless-
it doesn't really clarify if a permit's necessary for the snow fencing.
Well, it would be, because if it's over 30 inches in height, it shall require a permit.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, yeah.
38-inch chicken wire fence for gardens, and you're gonna keep the rabbits out. Because the deer, don't even look at it twice and go over it.
Well, I guess they're not the way about
There's more deer in town than you think.
That's why I see my hospital all the time. Don't know from where.
Yeah, we're up to, you struck T.
What happened
28.
on 22, letter G, about farming operations?
22.
Letter G, says all farm operations, and then currently it's struck and in existence on or before June 30th, 1974.
That was just my attempt to clarify when currently was. That's original language from the original ordinance.
Yeah, what if it wasn't in existence in 1974, but it is in existence when we annex that portion into the city?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Generally, those things are grandfathered if they're next.
According to this, it wouldn't be, though.
that's correct.
Well, yes, it would, because our ordinance can't override something that was grandfathered, and that's a state statute. If it's grandfathered, then it's grandfathered in. It has to be legal when it comes in. But what this sentence or this paragraph is saying, these were properties that were in Little Falls in 1974 that were farming at that time. And then we updated the ordinance to say that if it's currently being farmed, you can continue to farm it. But they didn't define when currently is. So we had to clarify that it was June 3rd, 1974 when that language got in there.
How many farm operations do we have
For the
now?
original portion of the falls.
There used to be a cow, Leisenheimer, right next to Standard Parts in that barn, just east. I remember a cow there.
Oh, yeah.
That was,
Pat Wheeler.
there hasn't been one for a long time.
Right.
You could add to that on or before June 3rd, 74, or at the time of annexation into the city or something like
That
that.
probably makes more sense.
It'll scare less people on the fringe.
Come over.
Hey, cows out
One
there,
come off.
Nope,
just golf balls.
might be some back in the woods or something.
That's a sheep farm in town.
Some goats on the west side, but they're right over the boundary, aren't they?
Yep.
And that's
Okay, I think we're up to page, what, 28? So you struck T completely, okay?
Yeah, that references an apartment policy of some kind, and I haven't run across that. People have asked, don't know what that is.
Okay.
I think that's original, like, it is original 74 language.
It's 42 years ago. A lot of things have changed. 11.4, A3 is just conditional, special uses. Okay,
And these phrases and these things that are in this are from a number of ordinances I looked at, but they all pretty much have the same basic language in there. But the kind of things that you're going to look at in terms of a conditional use application, so.
Oh, as far as all that on page 30 and 31?
Right.
Most of these are generally, what's part of your staff report?
Right.
What we have to do.
Right. It's just a good reminder that these are the things that you look at when you're making a decision or recommendation to the council.
Back in the day, we used to have a checklist like that.
You know, when the day was.
On yours, here, we used to have a whole check sheet you had to go on and check it, and it was just blank, just another sheet of paper, but
Let's see if
for
that's still around.
GMPs, it was, you know,
That's kind of it.
kind of like our same literature we would have for a public hearing, you know, sheet of paper, they used to have a list used to put on and try to
Yeah.
file.
I'll see what's around.
We didn't just wing it from the 70s.
You didn't?
What are we up to? Page 34. Setbacks.
I guess the only thing I'd bring up with this is if we're saying that things less than 30 inches don't necessarily have to meet setbacks. So like we had that conversation about decks and stoops and all that. So if you had that patio that was right on the ground surface, that section is saying it has to meet a setback. So this section is saying, unless it's stated somewhere else, they don't have to, but in this case, it is stated somewhere else that they have to meet a setback. So this would be something like a little pump house or something if somebody still had a well. Or, we talk about the 30-inch fences.
And boxes you put in your patio to store things in, they're usually about 2 feet high, 30
On the
inches.
end of your stoop.
And then a stoop.
What's stoop? So the next question then is, how does your driveway differ from a patio or a sidewalk? Can every sidewalk come up from the front of your house out, you can't have a stoop? Or a patio? So what's the definition of sidewalk? 4 feet wide, if it becomes 6 foot wide, then it's a patio coming off the front of your house?
30 inches off the ground.
No, but even if it's at ground level, well, you can still have a patio or a deck.
Deck, if it's under 30 inches, this is saying you don't have to abide by the 10 foot or anything. Put her right up to the property line.
Well, to me, if we set it somewhere else that it has to meet a setback, then that trumps this.
That trumps.
So if it
it,
says
okay.
specifically that you need to meet a setback, you need to meet a setback.
Okay,
But if there's something that's not mentioned, and, when I put this in there, it was kind of like, well, there's always going to be something that's some little thing on the ground that, we want it to be clear that we're not going to get involved in that in terms of setbacks.
You know, if you have a little patio out front, or concrete, a patio home, and you have a concrete slab out front of your house, how far?
How close can you go?
And that's why I say, you know, why do we have that 15-foot setback or 10-foot setback from the sun? Because if it's because we don't want them to cover too much of their lot, well, we already covered that somewhere else.
I guess we do,
Is
if
it-
you wipe it away if it's at ground level, but it's not blocking nothing or causing anything. If you have a 4-foot wide sidewalk, or if you have a 10-foot wide patio up front, you know, what's the difference? But once you start coming up off from grade,
Right.
that's where you start running into the issue of blocking views.
Or be some kind of a hazard, I guess.
Right.
Street issues or driving issues. Like you said, it can always be big bass with the way too. So. Yeah, that's not unusual, I don't think, to say that if something's at ground level. It doesn't have to be setback. You might, I mean, the reason you might want to still have some setback is for just drainage. You don't want everything to rush off that patio in heavy rain and go right onto a neighbor's property or something. You want to give it a little bit of space to soak into the grass. Or, you know, if you're shoveling your snow off of it.
We're gonna have to put into, what kind of grade you have to have on the borders, property lines.
Yeah, I mean, you can't regulate everything.
No,
We can regulate nothing, leave it wide open.
as long as it meets the pervious. Are we gonna bring back that discussion on?
Plus tables about the, we're opening,
Okay.
whatever, but we need some action on this one here first, right?
Do we want some consensus or at least direction for Ben and I on how you want us to address that accessory structure height? I mean, are you thinking between that 18 and the height of the building, or where do you want us to kind of go with that in language?
I think that's pretty much, I mean, Jeremy didn't agree with that, but, it makes sense to me. 18 max if your building is lower than 18 feet. And then, the other part, just meet the existing structure.
Well, just some of the complaints that brought back up the whole deal on limiting the size was from the call, some of the calls that I gotten was about the bigger footprint, a big sore thumb sticking out in somebody's backyard. So I don't think it's gonna be the same way if we start.
You mean with the lower buildings, allowing them to go
It's
to
the max
18?
the height of your house.
What's your feeling on that?
I like the height of your house. I would sacrifice the 18-foot as a minimum height just to get the rest of the height of your house, but I like the height of the house.
For a 12-foot high house, 12-foot high garage.
Seems to make it pretty simple.
So that curve right now, so it's not gonna, it's gonna be a new building, so.
It's like you said, if there is a case where somebody has a flat house, you can always come in and ask for,
They put rafters on their house too.
yeah,
A
for
roof
rafters. It's hard to maintain a flat roof building in Minnesota.
Really expensive.
I don't know why they build schools flat.
And why they
Figure
don't
that
pay
out.
them flat.
I can predict, if somebody comes in with a 12-foot house and they say, I want to build a 16-foot tall garage, and I tell them they can't do it, and this isn't to say we shouldn't do it, but I know what they're gonna say is, well, I'm trying to get my cars in the house, or in that building, I'm trying to get my junk in the yard of the building, lawnmowers and stuff, and they're gonna tell me I can't do that. I'm trying to
Exactly.
improve my property in the neighborhood.
They couldn't do it in the current one either.
No. I'm sure that's the argument I'm gonna give them. And you're right, I mean, it's hard to make, if you've got a flat roof or a 312 pitch unit, in the long run, it's not very good for your house, but if they've only got money to do one thing right now, that's the pushback I'm sure they get.
You can always put a 12-12 pitch on their house.
So, but it sounds like we're pretty much agreed that an accessory building can be 18 feet, the greater of either 18 feet or the existing height of the primary structure.
No,
Yeah, the latest I heard is not that.
if I have a 14-foot house, my garage is 14 foot, if I have a 25-foot house, I get 25-foot garage.
I think at one point in the discussion, we were kind of along those lines, but kind of, it was consensus.
So right now, it's at 18 feet max.
Max, so if you have a 12-foot garage, if you have a 12-foot house now, you get a 12-foot garage.
Yeah.
If you have a 25-foot house now, you get an 18-foot garage. So if you want the whole argument on matching, aesthetically matching your house, will be solved by matching your house.
Yeah,
Or
the-
ask for variance.
Yeah, the people with the shorter houses aren't losing anything by removing the 18-foot, or, then they're not gaining it, it's not affecting them whatsoever.
Variances used to be a few years back where had to meet certain conditions and had to show a hardship in that, but that's been all thrown out. You can offer variance for aesthetic purposes too. So,
So just to be a troublemaker again,
Awesome,
Oh, yeah.
if someone puts in, they have the 14-foot house and they put in a 14-foot garage, and then they replace their house and build a taller roof pitch and more more modern style house. Now their garage is out of character with their new house.
well, it's shorter, they could raise the garage if they chose to do so. That's up to them, it's a big expense. And raising up a roof like that almost costs as much as building the whole garage.
Well, and if they know that in a year they're gonna do that, they might as well do the house first.
Yeah, absolutely.
So maybe there'll be some time between it anyways.
That's why I got 9-foot sidewalls in my garage instead of 10s. And in my house too.
Now, how does the ordinance
It's
read?
12 pitch, so.
If your primary structure burns down and you choose not to build another one, and there is an existing garage or something, then it's legal to have that sit there?
We can't make them rebuild or tear down their garage.
Right.
So if I want to put up a nice shop in town and the house is like ready to be torn down anyway, I'd buy that property and put up that nice shop and then tear the house down and it's legal.
You'd have to burn the house
A
though.
lot of termites in there.
In trouble.
Fire of mysterious origin.
Okay,
So, height of the existing buildings? I'm okay with
primary
that.
structure, height of the primary
Height of the
structure,
primary structure,
okay,
okay.
that seems to be the consensus.
Does that seem completely out of line to you, Ben, with all your doings out there with it?
No.
Does that seem reasonable?
I think it's one way to do it. I mean, they're all limiting the height in some manner. That's one way to do it. There's some
So in the
logic.
case of Mr. Roach here,
Yeah.
if that language gets passed, then
You could put the 12-12
his
pitch.
garage application is moved.
Yeah.
12-12.
He doesn't need to
you
go
could
to
do.
or if he passed
Well,
that.
if you wanted to,
Yeah,
So we're just back to striking that whole second sentence then, right?
Yep.